So, I mean, I've just wrapped up a book on education called The Case Against Education, where I argue for defunding education. Right? So, yes, so like, isn't that bad for you? Well, yeah, it would be bad for me if people listen, but still my conscience says this is the right thing to do.
Okay, so yes. sell me on that. I went to a public elementary school,
yes.
public junior high, public high school.
Yep.
I went to State University of New York
yes.
at Binghamton, which was hugely subsidized by the government. I think it was around $9,000 a year, and I got a great education. Why am I wrong on that?
So I went to public schools right in this neighborhood, actually, but so like the heart of my case is something called the signaling model of education. So this is a fancy term for a common sense idea. It just says that a lot of the reason why education pays is not that it's teaching useful job skills, but rather you're jumping through hoops to show off for employers. All right, so just think about all the classes that you ever had to take, and then how few of them are actually relevant to the job that you do. You actually probably have a job where you do use more of what you studied. Although,
I was a political science
major,
yes. So there you go.
But think about all the classes that were required where you would not have been allowed to graduate without going through all of them. So I always have this example. Imagine you're like one Aristotle class short of college graduation, and yet you want to finish that class. Why? Because you're going to use the Nicomachean ethics and on the job? Probably not. Rather because you want that diploma, and employers are like many employers will just throw your application right in the trash unless you have that diploma.
But do you lose something doing it your way because of just a certain breadth of knowledge? Now, I'm not saying that every class should be
yes.
mandated, and of course
right.
they stick you in things
yes.
that shouldn't be necessary. But just that in terms of college specifically, that's where you should get a broad sense of knowledge. Would that be at risk then?
Well, here's the thing. It's not at risk because almost no one gets it now. So that is the harsh truth, is that if you just go and look at what graduates of the current system know, it is next to nothing. Right? So there have been some great nationally representative surveys of what American adults know about government, about history, about economics, and the answer is they know next to nothing. So if we were to defend the system saying that people need breadth of knowledge, well, it's not a defense of the current system because the current system has not given it to them. The way that I like to think about it is that typical American college graduate is lucky to maybe answer half of the most basic questions you can imagine on civics.
Yeah.
Now you might say, well, that was still worthwhile. I say, it's not worthwhile because what do you call someone who knows half their letters? What do you call someone who knows half their letters?
An idiot?
Illiterate.
Okay.
If you know half your letters, you are illiterate. You're not half literate if you know half your letters.
Yeah.
You are illiterate because you cannot read.
Yeah.
So I say, if you know half the basic facts about U.S. history or about American government, you don't know half of what you need to know. You just don't know it at all.
If you think there are
you don't have a clue.
If you think there are 1.5 branches of government,
yes.
we're in a lot of trouble.
You just don't have a clue about what's going on.
Yeah.
And that's what the current system has given us. So when people say, wouldn't this be a disaster? I say, well, you might say the current system is a disaster, but what I'm proposing wouldn't be worse. Now, there's always the question, well, but why not go and redouble our efforts so that people really do learn the stuff? That people generally forget what they learn very quickly. So on test day, actually, I believe that most of the students in the civics class probably actually kind of knew their stuff. But what psychologists call fade out is so enormous. Just like in one year, out the next, if you don't keep testing it, you don't keep using it, you lose it. I mean, this is some of the most interesting research in psychology. So there's a lot of research on fade out in school, where you go and you teach the kids something and then you go and measure it 1 or 2 years later in school. But the really scary fade out is from school to adulthood. Because the kids in school, at least they kind of know I'm going to have to learn this again, I might get tested on again. But once you finally graduate, that's it. That's the end.
Yeah.
So there's a fantastic study of retention of higher mathematics throughout life. And algebra and geometry. Within a couple decades, most people took those classes are back to where they were before they even actually started the classes. The only people who remember their algebra and geometry are people who go all the way up to calculus. So
right.
You go all the way to
Everyone
calculus,
else.
then you go and retain algebra and geometry for the rest of your life. But you have to go way beyond a subject to actually retain the retain the basics. Mm-hmm. And this all fits with use it or lose it. Or Tiger Mom Amy Chu has a great slogan, every day you don't practice is the day you get worse. So this does go with, well, so why bother teaching people things they're just going to forget anyway?
Yeah.
So this is part of my critique of what's wrong with throwing so much money at at education. So now of course none of this denies that schools do teach some useful material. But again, my view is, all right, again, so for the useful material, most people can pay for it, most people's parents can pay for it. And then if there's going to be any role for government, let it be for the small minority of kids whose parents are not able to take care of them, or charity's not taking care of them. And then for just that last sliver of people, if there's going to be a role for government, let it be that. So don't throw money at a problem. There's going to be money, let it be narrowly targeted to give, to be mindful that you are taking money from taxpayers without their consent. And at minimum, you owe them a responsibility to spend the money well. I think that seems like a really basic thing.
I think we've given up that minimum a long time ago.
Yeah, but again, so it's one thing to say, look, this is so important that that you have to pay whether you like it or not. Too bad. But then go and spend that money heedlessly. That seems like a true human rights abuse to take someone for money at gunpoint and then just blow it.